Today's subject, slavery.
So here's the thing. I really like playing evil playthroughs in video games. I don't know why. There's just something about offing someone for no reason on Terrace, or leaving a widow homeless on Tatooine, and ending 2 family lines on Dantooine. Funny. Or maybe not funny, but no, yeah, it's just funny. Maybe it's because these are such cartoonishly evil things to do that I'm able to separate myself from the action of actually doing it. Kind of like mowing down crowds of people in GTA or siding with bandits in Fable. It's just so outrageous and silly that it doesn't matter. I mean, not that anything matters, it's just a game, but still. All that being said, choosing the dark side path on Kashyyyk, it really makes me feel some type of way. Like, convincing a guy to kill his employer, which keeps him trapped on the planet, is such a creatively evil thing for the devs to have put in. Hunting down a disgraced Wookiee and forwarding propaganda to an oppressed people, it's just too real. And siding with a leader of a tribal planet that helped prop up the systemic enslavement of his own people, that's dark, man. Like, really, really dark. It goes beyond just stealing someone's last credits or collecting bounties on innocent people. And the way the Wookiees are all split on what's happening, afraid to speak out, even in the comfort of their own homes, how they're distrusting of outsiders yet resigned to be led to slavery by their own leader. It's depressing. It goes beyond spreading chaos and mayhem for funsies. It's, like I said, it's too real. So all that is to say, whenever I do a dark side run, Kashyyyk is pretty much the only time that I consider breaking my roleplay for the light. I mean, of course I don't. I'm committed at this point. In truth, I really don't like Kashyyyk in general. I wouldn't say I don't like it. It's more of a love-hate relationship. And it's not because I think it's a bad planet. On the contrary, it's one of the best planets in either game. But it's just, like I said, it's really depressing. Even when you do choose a light side here, you're left with the feeling that their victory over Zerka is going to be pretty short-lived. And the Wookiees will forever be a race that can never escape being exploited by the rest of the galaxy. But enough of that. Let's get into the gameplay. I started out this session by messing with Bastila just a little bit and asking her to talk, then acting annoyed when she actually expressed herself. Then she was all like, "Oh, you make bad decisions. You just do what you want. Don't you worry about the consequences?" Like, no. What are you talking about? What are you afraid Vandar's gonna come send you to your room, you big baby? After that, I decided it's time to catch up with Karth, and he was all like, "Oh, my dead wife, my dead child, Saul Kareth betrayed me. Boo-hoo, woe is me. Wah, wah, wah." I really wanted to make fun of him, but I knew that if I could ask him about his son, there would be bigger rewards ahead. So he sets that up for me, and I move on.
His name was Dustle, and I don't know what happened to him.
Pretty soon after leaving the ship, I run into this guy who owed a merchant some money.
"Please, look well upon the wares of Eli Gand. I live to serve your needs."
Just be sure to pay cash. The interest on his loans will drain you like a diluvian fatworm on a hut's backside.
First off, hearts are all backside. Secondly, I don't much like the comparison. No need to get personal. It's just business.
So naturally, the merchant is enslaving the guy and refused to let him go because, you know, slavery is just how we settle debts. That's galactic justice, baby. More on that later. Zalbar started throwing a fit when I was talking to this Zerka officer. The officer was all like, "Hey, could you shut him up?" So I asked Zalbar if he would like to kill the Ithorian, but the game doesn't let that happen, so that sucks. But we basically find out from this guy that Zerka is buying Wookiee slaves and shipping them off-world for stuff, so, you know, that's not cool. I move on, and after threatening an old man and fighting some Kinrath, I come across a busted-up droid. I thought about fixing it, but then I realized that I achieved the impossible at some point. I don't know when, but both my computer and repair are down to -1. I didn't even know you could do that. I swear, like, after 1,000 playthroughs, I've never done that before. It was incredible. Then I run into these guys who had just killed a Wookiee, and they say,
"This Wookiee slave got a little rebellious. We had to put it down."
Well, Zalbar didn't take too kindly to that vernacular, so I see if I could egg him on a bit. You know, as you do. But he doesn't bite. Luckily, the Zerka workers were pretty easy to provoke, and I give him a taste of the old IPA. That's improved power attack for those who aren't pro gamers like myself. That's around the time Candace told me a little bit more about the Mandalorian Wars.
Yeah, we lost. But there is no shame in it. We lost to the greatest single warrior the Republic has ever known.
Yeah, okay, buddy. Sounds like cope, but if you say so. Don't get me wrong, Candace is one of my favorite characters, but at times he really gives off some Uncle Rico vibes, you know what I mean?
Coach would have put me in fourth quarter. We'd ruled the galaxy, no doubt. I'd defeated Revan.
Turns out the head of the tribe is Chundar, Zalbar's brother, and he's a real dick. Like, he talks about how much he hates humans because of their selfishness and cruelty, yet he banished his own father because he caught him selling Wookiees to Zerka. By the way, I'm sure that there are some real life parallels to be made here, but I'm not a historian. I'm not getting into that. All I know is that this guy sucks. Screw Chundar, man. Freyr for life. I mean, who? What? Who's Freyr? Anyways, I tell him that I'm looking for a star map, and he says that there might be one in the Shadowlands, but he'll only let me go if I promise to kill the Mad Claw down there. That is a Wookiee who fought with his claws in an outrage. That's a big no-no in Wookiee culture, you see. To fight with your claws is to fight like an animal, a beast. And these are civilized people. They use swords and bowcasters and sell each other for credits. So I agree to hunt down the Mad Claw while Zalbar stays behind to be guarded by Chundar. Of course, that's not before HK-47 could get in a few good lines.
Query, shall I begin blasting, Master? We could have your hirsute companion free in no time. Warning, and get no closer, hairy organic. I will protect the Master from your barbaric ways. I warn you.
On my way to the Shadowlands, I run into a Wookiee who tells me about Baka, and this is one of the reasons I think Kashyyyk is one of the best planets. The devs really took their time to flesh it out as a culture and people of its own. They're so far separated from the rest of the galaxy in terms of technology, religion, and culture, they really don't rely on the Force or the Jedi for anything. They stick to their own traditions. Things like Mad Claws, internal politics, and the isolationist mentality, it's not something that you see a whole lot of in Star Wars, at least not on this level. But back to Baka. According to this Wookiee, Baka was one of the greatest warriors to ever live, and whoever wields his blade has the right to challenge the current chieftain. Kinda like the Darksaber for Mandalorians, except this came out first. Unfortunately, Baka's blade was lost on a hunt, so it's hard for anybody to challenge Chundar's claim as chief. That being said, we're told that the blade is stuck in a beast in the Shadowlands, and we might just be able to find it. So yeah, if we can find that blade, it's not just a legendary weapon, it's a chance to free the Wookiees. Later, I get lowered into the Shadowlands, and I run into the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Jolie Bindo. Man, I remember I loved this guy as a kid, and I still do. He's one of my favorite companions. But as a kid, I would always equip him with a purple lightsaber because he was a Grey Jedi. Yeah, that's it, Grey Jedi. Speaking of Grey Jedi, can we please stop using that term unironically? Major side tangent here, but it gets on my nerves every time I see it. It's one of the most brain-dead, uninformed things that we as a Star Wars fandom has ever come up with. And when I say we came up with it, I mean us. Fans. It did not come from George Lucas or anyone else at Lucasfilm. The fandom coined that idiotic term. You cannot simultaneously wield the light side and the dark side. Following the light is to be in balance with the Force. Following the dark is to be corrupted and destroyed by it. Regardless of the philosophy you believe in, they cannot coexist in one person. And this BS about balance means that you have the same number of good and evil people or some such nonsense like that. It doesn't make sense either, but that's a tangent for another day. Being a Grey Jedi is like saying you like your iced tea hot, or restaurants offering hot chocolate ice cream. It's just chocolate ice cream. No, wait, I'm sorry, wrong rant. But Jay, you say. What about Qui-Gon Jinn? He was a Grey Jedi.
Jane, you ignorant slut.
No, he wasn't. He recognized the Jedi Order in the prequels for what they were, shrouded in darkness and blinded by selfishness. They ignored their own religious beliefs and disregarded their prophecies because it didn't behoove them to break their tradition and train the Chosen One. He refused to buy into political machinations and only followed the Force's will. That doesn't make him a Grey Jedi, that makes him a follower of the light. But what about Mace Windu? He used Vapod. Yeah, and he was an asshole. He constantly mistreated Anakin, was much quicker to resort to violence than anyone else in the Council, and was extremely shrewd and pragmatic when dishing orders throughout the entirety of the Clone Wars. Those aren't traits of a follower of the will of the Force. That's someone who wants to fulfill his own will, no matter the cost. Case in point, his use of Vapod. How could you think that you're above the risks of corruption and lust for power after allowing those things to enter your heart for your own gain? The dark side is like a highly addictive drug. You can't just play with it whenever you want and not expect it to ruin you. Just because he wasn't out to rule the galaxy doesn't mean he wasn't intoxicated with maintaining the power that he did hold. His motivations were still selfish. He was a hypocrite. But Kreia was a Grey Jedi. Are you serious? I mean, people actually say this. I've seen this in threads. Like, are you okay? You realize that she was a Dark Lord, right? That everything she said was a lie to further her mission of literally destroying the Force and killing all those sensitive to it. Like, come on. The only semi-decent arguments to be had are those like Bendu from Rebels or the father from Clone Wars, and even some of what Kreia taught throughout KOTOR 2. But when you boil it down, their philosophy was just don't do anything. Things will work out. Don't worry about it, man. Someone else will handle that. That's not wielding both sides of the Force. That's just sitting like a toad on a log and scratching your ass while life happens to you instead of you happening to life. That's refusing to use your own free will to help or harm. It's being a mindless beast. As for Jolee, yeah, he got tired of the Council and left the Order. That doesn't make him gray. That means he got fed up with the politics of the Jedi, like Qui-Gon. He lived on Kashyyyk to provide unseen support for the Wookiees. He tried to lead you to save the galaxy. That's a follower of the Force, aka a light side user. The game's slider may say something different, and I get that. Granted, it is slightly balanced towards the light, but overall, he chose to do good. I think D&D players would call that chaotic good, am I right? Someone who might break laws or something like that in order to do what's morally correct? Again, that's not being a Grey Jedi, that's being a good person. Anyways, tangent over. That's all. Let's get back to the game. So I meet Jolee and he says that he could bring me the star map, but there's this barrier blocking the path forward. And he says he'll get rid of it for me if I could get rid of the Zerka presence and the Shadowlands for him. Apparently they're down here wiping out local species, disrupting wildlife, and old Jolee is not a big fan of that. He only has one stipulation. I can't kill anybody. Because if I do, that'll lead to more problems for the Wookiees. I need to be creative about this. Tactful.
Here it is!
Hey, when all you have is a hammer and all that. Plus, did I mention my -1 computer skill? What am I gonna do? He's not a fan of how I handled the situation.
Yes, I heard the fuss of it. I told you I wanted a non-violent solution, and I had my reasons for it. Zerka Corporation will find the bodies and blame the Wookiees.
But hey, at least I was able to get rid of them, so there's that. He sees my point and agrees to take me to the star map, but then we find something on the way to the barrier.
Playback. I don't get it. That merchant said there was salvage down here. We need Matin to work the sensors.
Playback. When he gets back, we'll... Wait, I'm getting something. Oh good, it's Eli. Maybe he'll point us in the right direction. Playback. Eli, what are you... You got your money, you double-crossing snake? We had a deal!
Well, what do you know? I'm sure this will be useful later. Once we move on and Jolee gets rid of the barrier, we come across a Wookiee fighting some Mandalorians. After we save him, he's all like, "Oh, please help me, I'm dying. My arm hurts." As if fighting off the Mandalorians wasn't good enough, now he wants to mooch a med pack off me, big baby. I tell him he's not worthy at first, which Jolee is not a fan of.
Nice, real nice. Maybe later we could find some insects to pull the legs off, huh?
But I changed my mind because I want more information from him, and Canderous isn't a big fan of that. Can't please anybody these days.
Mighty generous of you. A little too generous if you ask me.
And as it turns out, they're down here hunting Wookiees, waiting for them to drop their guard and put their weapons away before they strike. Now where's the honor in that? But I mean, who am I to judge, right? Not that I care, I'm not a Mandalorian. Canderous, what do you think?
They were Mandalorian. Poachers, probably. They used stealth units to stalk their prey. Their kind were among the first to flee when the war turned against my people. Bloody cowards.
Okay, so it's not just me. So I move on, and with the assistance of Jolee, I wipe out a bunch of local wildlife as I keep my eye out for some Wookiee corpses. Eventually, I run into this big old beast called a Terran Tartitek.
Not gonna work here anymore anyway.
It took some bait to draw it out, and it's not that hard to kill, but once it is dead, I find Baku's blade. So that wasn't all bad. And what do you know? I leveled up. Holy crap, look at my stats. I am absolutely untouchable. This is the first time I've ever done a games only run, and I never knew it could be so broken. Look at this, it's just stupid. Anyways, after leveling up, I run into a Wookiee named Freyr. He's not much in the mood for speaking, so he's gotta learn.
Well, this may prove difficult.
I try to talk to him for a moment, and I'm able to find out that Zalbar was exiled because he called out Chundar's slave trade. Apparently, Wookiee tradition dictates that parents automatically have to believe the older son over the younger one. Kind of a stupid tradition if you ask me, but okay. But then I realize that I just don't care.
I don't approve of this. Is Chundar to be blindly obeyed?
Jolee's not a fan, but he's a crazy old coot. What do I care? I figure now's as good a time as any to ask Canderous about his past, and he reminds me about how pathetic his race truly is.
Man, I wish I could go back in time. I'd take state.
His story wraps up in Terrace, and the rest, as they say, is history. After exploring the depths of the Shadowlands for a little bit longer, I run into a few groups of Mandalorian hunters. It's not hard to bait them. I just find the groups of dead Wookiees, unequip my vibroblades, and wait for them to appear. Of course, they're as easy to take down as any other Mandalorians I've come across. I tell you what, these guys are a whole lot of hot air and not much else. Eventually, I reach the star map.
Primary neural recognition complete. Preliminary match found.
Match found? What the? It always muttered something about rejected patterns for me.
He's so funny. In my opinion, this is one of the more interesting star maps in the game, though. We get quite a bit of information from this computer. We learn that the Rakatan Empire is responsible for the trees on Kashyyyk growing so tall. This was due to the malfunction that occurred nearly 30,000 years ago, and it was essentially an overcorrection. There weren't enough plants and produce, so the Rakatans were just trying to fix that. Eventually, that led to Kashyyyk as we know it today. This is kind of like how the Sand People explain that Tatooine used to be an ocean planet and all that, but I mean, I didn't learn that on this playthrough because I was busy. After that, the computer has me take a personality test, and after basically saying that I'd be the most evil person in every circumstance, the computer opens up the star map for me. I also find out that Jolie attempted opening it like 50 times or something. I mean, what else are you gonna do when you're trapped down here for years on end, right? I get what I need, and I go back up to meet Chundar. At first, he wants Baka's blade, but Zalbar's all like, no, can I have it? And Chundar's like, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. I guess with no challenging blade or Wookiee to wield it, he won't have anything to worry about in terms of uprising, right? Pretty smart for a Wookiee. From there, I head back to the ship. But before I board, there's one more thing I have to take care of.
Droid head? On Kashyyyk? Let me see that.
It's nothing. I'm certain. Just garbage from the forest floor.
Mere rubbish. It's DAO2, the repair droid from my ship. What was this doing in the forest? You told me my crew jacked our ship without paying the repair bill.
Well, that is... It's not how it looks. You see, a good mechanic is hard to find, and...
And what? I thought I owed you. You tricked them into the Shadowlands and killed them while I fixed your freighter in orbit.
This is just a simple business matter.
This is business? Maybe in hut space, but not here. Not with me. That Thalian bog slime. Do you know I've been here 36 days slaving to pay a debt in good faith? All for nothing. He killed my crew. Who knows where my ship is? Well, there's your pay, Eli. Blaster fire and keep the change.
Of course, there's nowhere for him to go now. He has no ship, no crew, and no contacts. But his spirits are still up, so good for you, buddy. Chin up. But that's not enough for me.
What do you mean? I don't need to go hunting Eli's family or anything. I've seen justice done. Working here when I was trapped was hell enough. Staying here now is just foolish. I don't want to be seen as weak. I see your point. I'll leave his shop like his corpse. I'll take what I want, buy passage on a ship, and never look back except to spit. Here, take this. Thanks for reminding me about how he misused my trust. I'll make sure it never happens again, with anyone.
Whew, that was close. You almost had a silver lining there. When I get back to the ship, I decide to end this planet the same way I started it, by annoying Bastila. And I think she might have a crush on me.
You're like no man I've known before. And you're nothing like what I expected you to be after the council sent us on this mission together.
You want to hug me. You want to smooch me. You want to...
And after all is said and done, I think that this planet will always leave a bad taste in my mouth. While it will always be one of my favorite planets due to the lore, the exploration, the characters, I just don't think I'll ever be able to get past the heavy subject matter. It's such a depressing planet. And again, even on light side playthroughs, there's always that lingering feeling that this won't be the end for the Wookiees' struggle for freedom. So I'll always have a love-hate relationship with Kashyyyk, but I think that's okay. The devs did a really good job. I think it's one of the most immersive levels. But that doesn't just go for KOTOR either. Kashyyyk is such an interesting planet. And every Star Wars game that I've played that takes me to Kashyyyk, I always get lost in the world in the best ways possible. There's something magical about this home of the Wookiees. It's not just another planet, it's alive, it's mystical, mysterious, ancient, it's beautiful. So shout out to Kashyyyk, and here's to George for thinking of such an amazing place. I've already mentioned this, but I'm gonna have to rank this at the top. So far, I don't think anything in the game beats Kashyyyk.